You need to leave. This lounge is for real clients. Lisa Newman didn't even blink when she said it. Her voice cut through the quiet like a slap across the face. At 10:17 a.m. on a humid Miami morning, inside the marble-lined private client lounge of Summit Wealth Bank, those 8 words hit Vanessa Clark hard. Not because she believed them, but because she had expected them. Vanessa Clark, 46 years old, walked into the branch in dark wash jeans, a pale blue cashmere sweater, and simple black loafers. She didn't look like the CEO of Summit Enterprises, the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that had acquired Summit Wealth Bank just 2 years earlier. That was intentional. This morning was a test. She approached the front desk and requested access to the private lounge to complete a $5 million withdrawal. The teller directed her to the glass-partitioned room without question. But the moment she sat down, that calm shattered. Lisa Newman, 43, the branch manager, strode over like she smelled smoke. Her blonde bob swayed as she leaned over the mahogany desk. "We'll need proof of where your funds came from," she said, tone flat but eyes cold. Vanessa didn't flinch. She'd seen this look at 23 when her account was frozen for unusual activity after depositing her first real estate commission. The same look at 26 when a loan officer called her high risk, despite bringing 30% more collateral than required. And now, 2 decades and $8 billion later, here it was again. Vanessa calmly opened her tablet and slid a document across the table. Before Lisa could glance at it, Edward Pierce, 45, a white investment banker in an expensive gray suit, sneered as he walked past. "Don't clog up the line, sweetheart." With one flick of his wrist, he knocked Vanessa's tablet off the desk. Natalie Wells, 29, a private banker, stood in the far corner, arms crossed. "That amount of cash doesn't add this. Dup! You could have stolen it." 2 clients looked up. One raised an eyebrow. Another whispered to his companion. "Run my name," Vanessa said, cool and measured. Lisa shook her head. "You're not verified. This isn't a walk-in center." In the back corner, Keith Morris, a 31-year-old tech entrepreneur, began filming with his phone. "Don't," Vanessa said firmly. "We settle this with facts, not footage." Calvin Holt, 40, a tall black man in a gray suit, rose and walked over to Keith. "Brother, put that down. This is bigger than one clip. It's about how we speak up, not how we go viral." "Words," Vanessa said to Keith. "Use your words." Maya Reed, 28, sat to Vanessa's left, hands clutching her purse, lips pressed in fury. She finally whispered, "This is foul." "Speak up," Vanessa said. "Let them hear it." Maya stood. "She's not the problem. You are," she said, pointing at Lisa and Natalie. "Security's on standby," Natalie muttered. Edward, now leaning against a pillar, smirked. "You all really think this woman has $500,000 sitting in an account here? Pawn shops down the street." He slipped a folded note across the floor. Maya picked it up and read aloud. "Go to a pawn shop." A collective gasp followed. "That's enough," Vanessa said, voice rising but still composed. "You're destroying this institution with every word that comes out of your mouth." Lisa smirked. "You're not a client. You're a con artist. Go play rich somewhere else." Vanessa pulled out her phone and dialed. "Carla, start Protocol 6. "It's ready, ma'am," Carla Evans, her executive assistant, replied. "You're going to regret this," Vanessa said. "Not because I'll scream, but because you just told the wrong woman she doesn't belong in the bank she owns." "Delusions don't scare me," Lisa scoffed. "She's a fraud, Robert. Throw her out." Lisa barked it loud enough for the entire lounge to hear. Robert Clean, 48, the assistant manager, stepped forward reluctantly. "This woman," Lisa continued, "is a con artist parading around like she owns the place." Edward added, "She stole that money, and now she's here wasting everyone's time. Why hasn't she been arrested yet?" That word "stole" hit like shrapnel. Clients whispered, some raising phones. "That's stolen cash. Natalie said with confidence. No real client makes that kind of request, not dressed like that. Enough, Maya stood up. You're all out of line. You don't even know her. Oh, we know the type, Edward laughed. She probably got someone's login and thinks she can drain $500,000 like it's her birthday. Keith stepped forward. I should be recording this. Words, not lenses. Vanessa shook her head. Let your voice work, not your camera, Calvin added. If we want to change the room, we speak in it. Do you have any account verification? Robert finally spoke, voice low. Vanessa dialed Carla again. Carla, they've escalated it. Proceed to Phase 2 of Protocol 6. Confirmed. I've logged the escalation. Internal audit will hear this. They'll hear everything, every word, Vanessa replied. You're all being manipulated. Lisa raised her voice. You think someone like her walks in off the street and has access to $500,000? You sound afraid. Vanessa turned to face her. That's the sound of your job slipping away. Threats? Lisa hissed. No, just a mirror. Corporate's not going to save your little con job, Lisa scoffed. Lisa, what if she's right? Robert turned slowly, voice hollow. Don't be naive, Lisa stared at him like he'd betrayed her. Vanessa stood up now. You asked for proof of funds. You accused me of fraud. You called me a thief. You triggered a security call. You mocked the way I dressed. And you humiliated me in a room full of witnesses. Her voice never rose. And I'm still standing here. Why do you think that is? The silence was immediate. We wait, Vanessa said. The truth is coming whether they want it or not. Call the police. She's a financial threat, Lisa commanded. Natalie picked up the landline and dialed fast. Yes, we have a woman here attempting to withdraw funds under false pretenses. High amount, possibly stolen. You just made a federal false report, Vanessa said quietly. I hope you're ready to explain it in court. Sweetheart, that's not how this works, Lisa scoffed. We protect the institution, not the imposters. Tyler Moss, 34, the security lead, arrived wearing a Navy uniform with a Summit Wealth badge. What's going on here? She's a suspected fraud, Natalie pointed at Vanessa. We've requested verification. She's refused. Tyler walked over and stood directly in front of Vanessa. I need your bag and your tablet. When Vanessa didn't move, Tyler shoved her purse off the adjacent seat. You're being detained for non-compliance. That is not legal, Calvin stepped forward. She hasn't broken a single law. Touch me again, and I will personally make sure Summit Wealth pays for it. Vanessa's eyes locked on Tyler's face. Lady, I don't care what you threaten. You don't belong here, Tyler said. Those 5 words sliced deeper than anything else. Step back, man, Calvin moved between two. Him. You interfering now? I'm protecting a client. Keith raised his phone. This needs to be seen. Keith, don't, Vanessa's voice cracked. We don't need their eyes. We need their ears. Then say it louder. Keith lowered his phone. You demand my history like I owe you my identity. Vanessa turned to Lisa. But I don't owe this room anything. I've earned more than anyone in here, including you. So instead of asking where my money came from, maybe ask why you think you have the right to question it. Carla's voice came through the phone. Vanessa, Protocol 6 is now fully active. Summit's compliance board has flagged Lisa's employee record. They're pulling the 2023 audit logs. Let it all run, Vanessa nodded. You won't get away with this. Lisa leaned forward. You mean being black, wealthy, and patient? I've done it for 20 years. This is not what I signed up for. Robert backed away. Natalie gripped the phone tighter, continuing with dispatch about a possible financial criminal present. An elderly man near the window stood. This is ridiculous. A young black couple took each other's hands. Then came the crack. I need to say something. Robert's voice was low but clear. All eyes turned. Lisa. Natalie. What we're doing is wrong. Don't you dare! Lisa's eyes went wide. Natalie wanted the police here. She didn't even run the verification. She refused to check the back end. She said bringing them in would shut her down fast. You liar, Natalie gasped. I was there. You said it knowing who she might be. You're turning on your team for her, Edward shouted. She's bluffing. Then call the bluff. Vanessa stood slowly, lifting her voice powerfully. I am Vanessa Clark, CEO of Summit Enterprises, owner of Summit Wealth Bank, and every second you've spent humiliating me in this room has been recorded, logged, and now witnessed. Clients stared, frozen. Lisa's face lost color. Natalie backed toward the wall. Eiler blinked like he'd seen a ghost. Then clients started clapping slowly, then all at once. I knew I'd seen you before. Calvin stepped forward. Forbes, 2 years ago. Your company turned this bank around. She's our CEO. Maya stood with tears in her eyes. I should have filmed this part, Keith whispered. The problem wasn't that you didn't know who I was. Vanessa looked around the room. The problem is how you treated someone you thought didn't matter. You set us up, Lisa stammered. No, I tested you and you failed. The entire room shifted. Police sirens grew faint in the distance, but the real justice had already walked through the front door. Detain her now before she disappears. Lisa's voice cracked with desperation as 2 uniformed police officers stepped inside. We got a report of a fraud attempt, one officer said. She's impersonating a high-net-worth client. Natalie stepped forward. She demanded $500,000 in cash with no verification. I'd like to make a statement, but not yet, Vanessa said calmly. A soft voice broke through the silence. They're lying. Everyone turned. It was Zara Brooks, a 24-year-old black woman who'd been sitting quietly. They did it to me, too. 2 weeks ago. I came in to open a photography business account. Natalie refused to run my EIN. She said, "We don't open accounts for freelancers with inconsistent histories." That's not true. Natalie spun around. I recorded it. Zara raised her phone. Didn't post it, but it's time someone did. Tyler took a step back. One officer turned to Natalie. Ma'am, did you make that call knowing she owns this bank? She didn't own it at the time, Natalie stammered. I've owned it for nearly 2 years, Vanessa said slowly, which means what you just said is either a lie or a confession. We're not making any arrests, but we'll be writing a report. The officer nodded. Vanessa, corporate has received the Zara Brooks complaint. It was buried. Natalie flagged it as ineligible for review. Carla's voice came through the phone. And Lisa's role? Vanessa asked. She signed off on the rejection. You told me to leave. You refused my ID. You called me a con artist. Vanessa turned to Lisa. And now you want to hide behind Natalie's bad paperwork. You dressed like you didn't belong here. Lisa's hands trembled. I made a judgment call. That wasn't judgment, that was bias. You people are always so loud, Edward scoffed as he tried to leave. You people? Keith said. You mean the woman who owns the bank? Leave now, man. Calvin stepped between Edward and the rest. That card you wave around won't protect you from what just happened. I'd like to de-escalate this in-house. Vanessa turned to the police. No arrests. Not yet. I want people to speak. You sure about that? One officer asked. Completely. I want the room to understand what just happened here. She turned to Zara. You're brave. You should never have had to be. I just wanted to open an account, Zara replied. From today forward, you'll never be treated like that again. Your account will be opened personally by the executive board, fee-free. You didn't just stop a system, Calvin said. You exposed it. And now I'm going to dismantle it, Vanessa replied. From behind, Lisa muttered, "This was never supposed to happen." "It was always going to happen," Robert said quietly. "We just didn't think we'd get caught." "Summit compliance officers are arriving within 10 minutes, Carla's voice returned. "They've approved full authority to act." "Good, because I've been ready for this day longer than they know." Vanessa smiled faintly. With the lounge watching, clients, staff, officers, and Zara, the future of Summit Wealth was no longer a question of policy. It was a matter of personal reckoning. Enough. Vanessa's voice didn't rise, but it silenced the entire room. She stepped forward, no longer seated, no longer patient. She wore no badge, no visible sign of title, yet her presence filled the space like the weight of a verdict. "For 10 minutes, I've endured slurs, suspicion, and slander inside a building that bears my company's name, so allow me to remove all doubt." She reached into her tablet case and pulled out a small black folder embossed with the Summit Wealth logo. Inside, a corporate ID, notarized certificate, and letter of authority signed by the board of directors. "My name is Vanessa Clark. I am the founder and CEO of Summit Enterprises. I own 81% of Summit Wealth Bank, and starting today, I will no longer tolerate misconduct under this roof." The reaction was instant. Lisa's jaw dropped. Robert stepped backward. Natalie staggered into a chair. Tyler's hands fell from his belt. Even Edward leaned forward in stunned silence. "Vanessa has full termination authority as listed under Summit Compliance Directive 4B. Carla's voice crackled through the phone. "You may proceed, ma'am." "Lisa Newman, you're fired, effective immediately for racial bias, abuse of position, and obstruction of client services." Lisa's mouth opened, but no sound came. "Robert Clean, you're fired for complicity and standing silent while a client was profiled and humiliated." Robert simply lowered his head. "Natalie Wells, you're terminated for fabricating a client risk report, triggering a false police call, and burying bias complaints." "I didn't know it was you." Natalie's composure broke. "And if it had been someone else?" Vanessa didn't flinch. Natalie. Quota's lips parted. There was no defense. "Tyler Moss, you're dismissed for aggression, unlawful detainment attempt, and failure to de-escalate." Tyler walked to the far end of the lounge without response. "And Edward Pierce, you're banned from all Summit-affiliated institutions for harassment, racism, and documented misconduct." "You can't ban me," Edward jumped up. "I'm worth more to this bank than half the people in here." "Not today, you're not," Maya shouted. "We don't build institutions to serve the loudest ego," Vanessa raised her hand. "We build them to protect the quiet dignity of people who walk in expecting fairness." The room erupted in applause, not performative but carrying years of pent-up injustice in its rhythm. That was justice in real time. Calvin stood with a quiet nod. "I thought I'd never be seen. Not really." Zara had tears in her eyes. "You weren't just seen today. You were believed." Vanessa looked at her. As the officers began to exit, Natalie spoke, voice cracked and raw. "Wait, I need to say something." The room quieted. "I buried 8 complaints in the last year, all from women of color. I flagged them as duplicates, unverifiable, or outside policy windows. I did it to keep our numbers clean." Robert knew. Robert didn't look up. "Confirmed." "We've located those complaint records," Carla's voice returned. "Natalie's voice is on 2 of them. Robert's signature is on 4. "I didn't know how to stop." Natalie sat down, shaking. "I thought if I didn't follow, I'd be next." "You weren't a follower." Vanessa approached slowly. "You were the one holding the torch while others burned. But today, I'm putting that fire out." Vanessa turned back to the room. For those still standing in this lounge, staff, clients, officers, and guests, I want you to understand something. Ownership isn't just a legal document or a title. It's a responsibility. And my responsibility is to make sure this never happens again. Not here, not on my watch. Corporate has initiated full disciplinary review and operational audit for the branch. The floor is yours to lead reform. Carla's voice followed. Then let's begin. Because this bank no longer answers to people like Lisa. It answers to the people it was built to serve. And with those words, the door to reform didn't just open. It stayed open wide enough for the future to walk through with dignity. Vanessa didn't wait for applause to fade. This isn't just about what they did. It's about what we're going to do now. She walked to the center of the lounge. Effective immediately, all branch operations are paused. No new transactions until we reset what this institution stands for. The clients nodded. Some clapped. We are launching the Summit Equity Program today. This branch will be the first test site for verbal audits, active diversity accountability, and a face-to-face values pledge for every staff member who wants to stay employed. What's a verbal audit? Maya raised her hand. It means we don't just check numbers. We track words. What's said, what's omitted, and who's treated like a burden just for walking through the door. That changes everything, Calvin nodded. That makes it human, Keith whispered. That's the point, Vanessa smiled faintly. In the silence, Tyler cleared his throat. Everyone turned. I need to say something. I didn't just fail to stop what happened. I helped plan it. The air shifted. Natalie came to me 2 months ago. She said corporate was sniffing around for non-compliance, and Lisa had a plan to bury the red flags. My job was to make sure anyone who complained got quietly removed before it turned into paperwork. That's profiling. Maya's face darkened. It was. I knew it. I did it anyway. He looked at Vanessa. You gave me a job. I turned it into a shield for the wrong people. Did Robert know? Vanessa asked. He knew enough to never ask questions. We've located 3 compliance reports that were altered after escalation. Tyler's name is on all of them, Carla's voice came in. I deserve to be held accountable, Tyler said, but I didn't come clean to save myself. I came clean because watching you stand in this room made me realize I've never worked for someone I respected before. You nearly got me arrested. Vanessa didn't soften. You intimidated people who came here in good faith. I want consequence, and I'll take it. But there's more. There's a list. A private tag in the CRM system used to mark problem clients, and that list is longer than you think. I'll pull it now, Carla replied. We'll freeze access and start a forensic review. This is why we reform, not tomorrow, right here in this space where silence let bias grow. Vanessa turned to the room. Today, we root it out. Let us help. Maya stepped beside Vanessa. We'll do it together, starting with truth. The room, once poisoned by silence, began to transform with voices raised, truths confessed, and culture finally cracked open for light to enter. Vanessa stood tall as applause faded, not in triumph, but in clarity. Summit compliance officers had arrived and were reviewing flagged reports. Effective immediately, Summit Wealth will mandate verbal conduct audits at all high-net-worth branches. No more hiding bias behind silence. Every branch will follow our example. Corporate has also terminated Edward Pierce's accounts and initiated a formal review of his investment firm. Carla's voice followed. Just then, an elderly white man in a pressed gray suit stood. My name's Richard Langford. I retired from banking 10 years ago. I used to oversee training for this region. His voice shook. I trained Lisa and Robert and even Natalie. I'll admit something I've never said publicly. We taught them to prioritize appearance, not openly, but with terms like client quality, suitability, and preferred posture. We gave them a system where rejection happened anyway. The room froze. I've watched today with shame and want to be on record saying this started long before Lisa. I helped build the bias, and I want to help tear it down. Why now? Vanessa asked gently. Because watching you dismantle it with nothing but your voice made me realize I had mine the whole time and never used it. Then use it now. He turned toward the officers. I'd like to give a full deposition and assist with training reform. Vanessa, I finished the review of that client flag list Tyler mentioned. 17 individuals marked as potential security risk had no prior incidents. 15 of them were Black or Hispanic. Carla's voice came through Dot. Vanessa took a deep breath. Then it's official. This wasn't a case. It was a culture. And you didn't just fight it, Maya reached out. You broke it wide open. I came here to start a business and somehow you gave me a future too, Zara added. You still will. And this time you'll do it in a bank that actually sees you. Vanessa smiled, Dot. She looked around one last time at the walls that had once contained prejudice, at faces that now carried understanding. Let this be the last time silence walks away stronger than truth. Let this be the moment we remember that justice doesn't come from hashtags. It comes from who we choose to be when no one's filming. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam my hand. I stood still and spoke clearly. If I can do that here, then so can you, wherever you are. As she turned to lead the compliance officers into the branch's inner offices, Carla's final words echoed, Summit Wealth will never be the same, and that's exactly the point. The door closed softly behind them. But the message, the lesson, and the legacy stayed right there in the lounge, where silence was finally broken for good. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.